Take the most recent example of which I'm aware at time of recording, Trump's asinine declaration that as president, he has absolute authority. If Obama had even joked or otherwise implied anything along those lines, then the white-hot outrage of angry white men and their token supporters would have torn a hole in the space-time continuum. But because it was their fellow angry white I'm not racist but Emperor God King who said it, with the implication therefore being that he will only use that absolute power against the other who they also mistrust, hate and fear, then they not only ignore his comment but actively cheer and applaud it. And finally, this explains the most absurd paradox of all, the fact that in many cases, self-described libertarians, anarcho-capitalists and others who claim to want to minimise the scope and power of the state or to do away with it altogether eventually become fascists, because in their case, although other self-proclaimed anti-statists most certainly do, far from mistrusting, hating and fearing the government as a concept, as an entity in itself, these self-described anti-statists only mistrust, fear and despise it because they perceive it as a weapon and a tool wielded by the other to limit their individual freedom to exert power over others, and instead for the degenerate and inferior other to exert power over them. And on the flip side of that coin as well, from government bailouts to Gamergate and whining about Captain Marvel giving the MCU cooties, the people who yell the loudest about letting the free market decide are the ones who condemn it just as loudly when it is also perceived as a means by which the other can impose lefty cuck mangina commie socialism, in other words, to make them feel uncomfortable, threatened and judged. So when they perceive that the government is actually on their side and will only use its absolute power against the other, then they assume that a totalitarian state isn't so bad after all, because obviously that totalitarian state will only strip away and violate the rights of the inferior other people, and I'm one of you, one of the true people, which can never change, because surely these aren't merely arbitrary labels that we apply and withdraw on a whim depending on what is most comforting and politically convenient that week. Surely the leopards will never eat my face.